This presentation will cover the primary steps and functions involved in an enterprise change management process. This is the process through which all changes to the organization, business functions, products, services, and technology should pass in order to minimize the risk of those changes to the customer and the business, and to maximize the utilization of capital resources, human and otherwise. Additional and more detailed information is available at our website at simplebs.com under the HP-PPM button. Subsequent presentations elaborating each of these functional steps and demonstrating the HP-PPM tool in support of that step will be forthcoming. I won't read the step slide content, so please stop the presentation to review and discuss the step definitions as necessary. This diagram represents the integration of the change management process and the primary HP-PPM system objects and how they facilitate that process. The first presentation is tool agnostic, as we will only be discussing the business process. Your process will look different and may contain the same functions with different names. The definition of this approach started in the 1940s with Peter Drucker and has been elaborated, modified, renamed, and repositioned as project management, zero defects, ISO 9000, Six Sigma, continuous improvement, ITIL, and many other perspectives on the basic theme of plan the work, then work the plan. I'll address this process in two pieces. The first piece is known as strategic planning, ideation, or the proposal process. This process is about new ideas to improve your business and typically come from and are managed by the business units. These may be product groups, service offerings, sales channels, profit centers, etc., and represent how the business delivery to the customer is organized. The second group of the process steps represents the tactical management end of the process. This is where you move from planning changes to be made to making changes. This particular version is a consolidation of the project management methodology and the software development lifecycle process. Again, your specific process will look different, but the functionality for IT-impacted changes should include the same functions. Strategic planning is about changing your business, what you do, how you do it. The objective is to gather all the great idea for improvement or requirements for change due to regulations and laws, evaluate them for benefits to the organization, prioritize them so that you get the best ones done first, and then plan to deliver them to the business when you can or when you have to in the case of regulations. Again, your process will be different. There will undoubtedly be additional options for reviews, cancellations, return for more information, etc. The most detailed version would be a system workflow and enable the effective management of the process. We will focus here on those major areas where responsibility changes or organizations and/or step includes a major amount of effort on the part of the employees to gather, process, evaluate, and report information. The first step, ideation, is to register the idea. The objective is to identify all of those initiative stakeholders that would be impacted by the delivery of the change. These stakeholders might be participants in the construction and delivery of the project, or be impacted after delivery because it affects their current process or job. They may have a role in supporting some facet of the new approach or service after it is deployed. The goal here is to get each of the stakeholder groups identified for collaborative definition of the idea. From a system perspective, this means enter the idea into a collaborative tool to facilitate the development of the idea through the strategic planning process. The next step includes the collaboration effort of gathering the input, organizing the approach, defining the benefits. The objective here is to define the idea well enough so that a reasonably accurate estimate can be made on the development, implementation, and ongoing cost of the change. It's tough to get a useful estimate with an idea like, build me a new house. However, a floor plan with wish list, lot location, and style now provides some granularity, and an architect can provide some information and figure out the right questions to ask you to make that estimate more accurate. Like a work breakdown structure for a project, every step in this process has a deliverable, and the process must define all of the deliverables and only the deliverables needed to deliver the project objective. The effectiveness of each step is measured by the progress and effort in the next step. The definition and management of this process provides the vehicle for continuously improving the execution of each step in subsequent passes. This high-level estimate is primarily to develop the cost of the initiative. Having defined the benefits, measurable financial impact of the initiative as part of the definition, additional revenue, profits, customer counts, market share, etc. It's important now to estimate the cost of delivery and operation. Only then will you be able to prioritize your opportunities for realization. The estimation now calls for the kind of a collaborative effort by the delivery organizations, and again, you want all impacted organizations to participate in order to minimize risk and effort and maximize benefit. Your initiative sponsors will know how well they define the objective based on the questions asked by the delivery team. That's those architects. The goal is to leave no question unasked and no major assumptions undefined. This collaboration and feedback between steps and groups provides the vehicle for continuous improvement. Prioritization. So the estimates are done and the return on investment is calculated, and now the opportunity is returned to the sponsor. It's not the only one. The business unit has 40 of these, so they need to prioritize them for execution based on their objectives and the strategic objectives of the enterprise. There's not enough time, money, or human resource capacity to do them all. And there are 5 business segments, and each has 40 ideas, fully developed. That's 200 ideas. 75% of these ideas will never be acted upon. So in this step, the enterprise perspective is used as the final prioritization. Of the 5 number 1 projects, which is actually most critical, beneficial, and necessary for the company. This is the role of the strategic planning group, the PMO, or the executive committee. There's a good chance that all of the number 1 opportunities will be executed eventually, but the constraint for execution is budget and resources. Since most of the projects will not be executed, then the goal is to spend no more time on their processing than necessary to prioritize them. At this step, the planning horizon now determines when we can do more work. This is demand management, capacity planning, or whatever name you use for it. We are going to put more effort, which means more money, into the evaluation and assessment, so let's not spend more time planning than we can take advantage of. The enterprise selection here follows the authorization, which means we have both the financial budget and resource capacity to schedule the execution of the next project. Resource planning. This is the step where we go from a floor plan and lot layout to a team definition. We don't have a blueprint yet, but we take a closer look at the floor plan and wish list and determine that we need X number of framers, tile workers, plumbing, electrical, HVAC. We need to construct a skill and experience inventory and volume to complete the project. This is the critical step of demand management, but one with lots of feedback for improvement. We have to define how many developers, architects, testers, trainers, and how much time each will require. The value and utilization is obvious in the next step. Master scheduling. Again, this goes by many names. This is typically a new function in an organization that does not have an enterprise tool in place to support the function, as it would be extremely labor intensive to do manually. The master schedule is a consolidated and integrated view of all the work released to the organization, all the active projects. In this case, it will also include proposals that have been scheduled for execution, but their start dates may be 7 to 90 days in the future. This enterprise schedule is your commitment to deliver change. It's critical then that it also be current based on your latest understanding. This is where we start to change how your organization works together. Estimated completion is a common project management concept. It is typically applied to cost and not very often utilized on a consolidated basis, except for financial forecasting in an organization that is CMMI level 0 to 3. What we are talking about here is the labor forecast, by role, by skill, and sourcing organization. The objective of the master scheduling step is to integrate the next proposal to be included, that number 1 enterprise idea, into the active portfolio, total demand against available resources, to determine when you can start the project based on required resources being available. This view provides a load analysis that indicates by sourcing organization where resources will be overloaded and therefore delay progress. The objective is to schedule the release so that your commitment to deliver on date certain is at least feasible for all project commitments. This is a tall order and is affected by all of your resource and project managers. Without some what-if automated tool capability, this task would be impossible on an ongoing basis. As the planned project release date draws near, you would do another quick check of capacity, as you have potentially 3 months of changes, and might postpone based on other projects running late. That concludes the planning and starts the commitment clock running. The execution side. Execution is about getting the job done. Again, you may use different names and additional steps for reviews, approvals, returns, etc. and may or may not include the PM methodology and the SDLC. If you build houses versus software, the names would be different, but the process definition and management have the same requirements and benefits. Project planning. The project planning step, plan the work, is the most critical to successful delivery. Its success is dependent upon the quality of information provided to the project manager and the availability of trained and experienced resources with the skills and experience required when needed. New skills added at this point potentially wouldn't be available for 3 months, as they are already committed to other active projects. The planning horizon will drive this process, and it will change as process maturity improves, the estimates from the resource planning step and the quality of the progress and estimate at completion forecast of active projects are critical, and both are required. Requirements. The specific breakdown is not significant, except that in each step, specific artifacts and deliverables are defined and required and are typically reviewed by some quality or compliance organization or function. In order to maintain that active portfolio for demand management planning in a consistently current and estimate at completion basis, time tracking would be deployed at this phase and task level within each step. The objective is to capture the actual experience of the effort as a knowledge asset in a form and framework that can be utilized to improve both the high-level estimate process as well as the detailed resource planning process. This will provide the primary continuous improvement loop to enhance the process value. Design prototyping. Each step represents a significant change in progress, deliverable status, and in many cases a change in the primary acting organization. The process and the tool to facilitate the process will provide a two-way communication vehicle between the project manager and his team members, potentially in different countries and time zones, as well as continuous information to the resource managers and the strategic planning team members with no additional effort, all as a function of an integrated project schedule. The build step, as the project moves closer to delivery, the progress communicates to downstream resources the pending efforts. It also can keep the project sponsor and business stakeholders engaged and involved in the successful delivery. The test step, as the delivery nears and preparations for deployment can be made, the engagement of trainers, maintenance personnel, help desk, and other support functions won't be surprised and ill-prepared based on continuous engagement in the process and the definition and review of pertinent artifacts and information. Deployment. The project nears completion when the project deliverable is released for use by the impacted stakeholders. The engagement of influential representatives from these groups greatly reduces adoption risk and problems. It also minimizes post-deployment support efforts by the development team, so they can more quickly return their capacity to the delivery process. Support. This step could include many details: the creation of the knowledge assets for the improvement of the process and the long-term evaluation of project objectives. Those values utilized to prioritize and select the initiative should be tracked and compared to improve the benefit estimation process as well. Lessons learned should include not only the project delivery experience, but include the process execution experiences as well. That's the high-level enterprise change management process. We hope to create a more detailed presentation for each of the major steps that involve significant effort and all of those related to the Hewlett-Packard Project and Portfolio Management System, which supports this process. Role-based training related to these business functions is already available at simplebs.com and will be transitioned as time allows. Implementation, project planning, maintenance, and configuration of the tool, as well as technical information, is also available. With this high-level definition, you should be able to understand the roadmap, and particularly the feedback loops for collaboration and continuous improvement of the process. Your feedback is greatly appreciated.